Patrick Christie's reporting here from the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. I'm joined today by Ben Harris-Quinney, the chair of the Bow Group, the oldest Conservative think tank in the UK. So thanks for joining us today, Ben.
My pleasure.
There's really only one topic of conversation here in Manchester, and that's how long can Theresa May soldier on for? I mean, surely she's got to go soon.
Well, she's been compared to a human shield being used by both sides to soak up the bullets that are incoming from all directions. I mean, my personal opinion is that there's no desperate need for Theresa May to go. I think there does need to be reform in the Conservative Party. I think it needs to become a more democratic organisation and re-energise its membership in time for the next general election. But that doesn't necessarily mean the leader has to go. My concern with her current position is that on so many issues she's kicked the can down the road. A lot of promises have been made, and I think when that timescale starts to tighten and she needs to lay on the table more clearly what the Brexit deal is going to be, what she's offering to the European Union, I think things will get harder and harder for her. But what I want to see is the Conservative Party return to true Conservative principles and to have a real grassroots movement behind it, similar to what the Labour Party now has. And I think if we're going to do that, it'll take a bit of time, and we need to do it properly. So I don't think there's a desperate need to suddenly change the leader.
What do you make of Boris Johnson's kind of constant interjections, really? Do you think he's trying to push May before she jumps?
No, I actually read Boris Johnson's interjections as being about Brexit. The Remainer establishment, the Remainer press and media are extremely strong, and so a figure like Boris Johnson that has the kind of media sway he does is very important to come back and remind people what everyone voted for: to leave the European Union, to end free movement, to leave the single market. And I see his interventions as being purely on that basis, and I think they're very welcome and necessary.
There's a lot of talk about the next Conservative leader coming from the new intake, or certainly one of the last two new intakes. Is there anyone that you would pick out and think they're looking like a leader in waiting as far as you're concerned?
Well, I mean, as with most elections, certainly in recent times, who knows what's going to happen. My favour would fall around a David Davis or a Jacob Rees-Mogg, but certainly there has been new talent that's come in since 2010. Dom Raab is becoming increasingly prominent from a government point of view, but I tend to think those talking against Rees-Mogg say, well, he hasn't been in a cabinet position, and the leader of the Conservative Party hasn't sprung from outside of the cabinet for many decades. My view is that a change is required, and we will see things that haven't happened for a long time happening. So I wouldn't really rule anyone out.
With Theresa May kind of bumbling on in the way that she doesn't seem to ever give a straight answer to anything we saw on Mar yesterday, and it was a little bit embarrassing for her, really. I mean, the longer she's in power, is it not weakening Brexit? Is it not weakening Britain on the world stage as well?
Well, as I say, I think the transitional agreement that May proposed last week was too woolly. I think it leaves the opportunity for Britain to be in this never-ending process where we're in a limbo where we voted to leave but we never quite leave. The transitional period could go on beyond the next general election. We could have a government of a different colour that says, oh, this transition is fine, why not keep it? So I have real concerns on Brexit in terms of the clarity that Theresa May has operated with. However, I would say it's an incredibly big challenge that she has inherited. The issue of Europe has ended the careers of every Conservative Party leader in recent memory, and arguably May has the hardest task. So I have some sympathy with her in terms of the scale of the issue that she faces. But I tend to think that there are a lot of runners and riders for the leadership that are quite happy for her to fall into some of the pitfalls in terms of negotiating with Europe, and then come in as a fresh broom and start to bang the table, which I think is what we really need with Brussels. The other problem is that the entire civil service is riven with Remainers, and because Theresa May was weakened so severely politically in the general election, she is being advised very significantly by the civil service, and so I think those in Conservative circles need to look more closely at the civil service and the people that are advising the government who, in my view, are trying to subvert Brexit in any way they can.
So just lastly really, if Theresa May goes, do you think you're more likely to see the kind of Brexit that you would want? And also, if she does go, who is most likely to be able to deliver that?
Well, I refute this idea of soft, hard Brexit. It was very clear what the EU referendum was about and what people voted for. They voted to leave the European Union, they voted to leave the single market, and they voted to end free movement. That's what we should be doing. That's what I want to see from Brexit, but it's also what people voted for. David Cameron left office on the basis that he had backed Remain. We now have a cabinet that's 75% Remain, a parliament that's 75% Remain. So I would like to see the Brexit government that David Cameron recommended. And so someone like David Davis or Jacob Rees-Mogg would fit that profile. But as I say, it's not about my personal preferences, it's about what people voted for.
Perfect. Ben Harris-Quinney, thank you very much.
My pleasure.